Auckland motel owners fear massive rates increase under council's targeted rate. Some motels could face rates increases of more than 100% under the council's new targeted rate. Motel owners fear they'll be crippled by a new targeted rate aimed at accommodation providers in Auckland, with some facing a massive 100% increase in their rates. They are dismissing Mayor Phil Goff's suggestion they pass the extra costs on to consumers, with one opposed councillor raising the prospect of a challenge to the High Court. Rachel Shadbolt from Hospitality NZ said the Commerce Commission would come down hard if the industry agreed to a uniform increase in accommodation rates. Mayor Phil Goff suggested accommodation providers could pass the extra costs on to their customers. The council has asserted it's easy to pass on as a surcharge, but our legal advice says that you can't, she said. We as an industry don't believe we can do it without getting into trouble under the Fair Trading Act. Rachel Shadbolt from Hospitality NZ says it will be difficult for providers to pass extra costs on to customers. Shadbolt said even if operators were to pass costs on to consumers, calculating the additional increase would prove complicated. Motels are not guaranteed occupancy every day of the year, so how can you say how much extra you should charge? Shadbolt said it was inaccurate to describe the targeted rate as a bed tax, which would see costs passed directly to guests at checkout. The current proposal would see operators billed regardless of occupancy rates. Accommodation providers will face various rates increases depending on their services and location. Troy Clary, the owner-operator of Wanaparoa Lodge, said he would be hit with up to $8,000 in extra rates. He doubted he would be able to pass that on to his customers. I am not going to be able to increase my rates to get the money back, so we'll have to incur the extra costs, he said. The targeted rate will be calculated according to which part of the city accommodation providers operate from. I have to survive. Shadbolt said under the proposed calculation tables, one inner-city motel faced a rates increase of $30,000, an increase of 125% on its current rates bill of $24,000. Aaron Maddock, Principal Financial Policy Advisor for Auckland Council, acknowledged that was possible but said such cases would be extreme outliers. It's possible there are some in that situation, he said, but added that was likely the result of refurbishment and extension at those properties. If their current rates reflect the value of the property prior to them doing those additional works, then of course when their new rates come out it's based on a higher value. Clary said it was unfair the targeted rate was only aimed at commercial accommodation providers. By doing this they are screwing the market in favor of people who don't pay tax, such as my Airbnb competitor across the road, he said. They have an immediate advantage because of this. Shadbolt echoed those concerns, and agreed Airbnb operators should also be held responsible. They are obviously benefiting from tourism promotion, but they are not contributing to it, she said. Maddox said the council had received very strong feedback from the sector that Airbnb operators should have to shoulder their fair share of the costs. Council has requested staff to go away and do some further work on that, so as part of the next year's long-term plan we'll be reporting back through to the committee about how we can go about capturing them, and how we can do that practically. Maddox acknowledged that in the interim, commercial accommodation providers would be left to bear the brunt of the additional rates. How does the rate work? The targeted accommodation rate was passed at a meeting of Auckland Council's Finance and Performance Committee on Thursday afternoon. It will hit the super cities hotels and motels with an extra rates bill to cover part of the operating budget for Auckland Tourism, Events and Economic Development, TED, the council body responsible for promoting tourism to the region. GOF promoted the targeted rate as a way of shifting tourism costs back onto the industry, rather than having those costs shouldered by Auckland ratepayers. An original proposal would have seen hotels and motels lumped with TED's entire annual budget of $26. That would have seen inner-city hotels face a massive average rates hike of nearly 130%, while inner-city motels would have faced a rates hike of 116%. Industry outcry later saw that figure reduced by half to $13.45 million, in what the council described as a political judgment. The targeted rate paid by each accommodation provider is arrived at through a complicated calculation that takes a number of factors into account, such as the capital value of the property, the type of accommodation being provided, and which part of the city it is in. Maddox said providers would only be charged based on accommodation services, rather than the entire capital value of their property. Many hotels and some motels have parts of buildings which are used for restaurants, bars, convention centers and the like, so it would be unfair for us to charge the rates based on those portions, he said. We've analyzed which portion of each building is used for accommodation purposes. Council budget figures estimated the rate would raise about $100 million over the next 6 years, which financial strategy manager Ross Tucker said would be spent on projects such as mass transit to the airport. By funding visitor and tourist events through a targeted rate, that's freed up general rates funding for other purposes such as investing in infrastructure, Tucker said. It basically gives the council greater ability to invest in infrastructure without just putting up general rates for everyone. Tucker said the targeted accommodation rate, along with other efficiency savings, meant the council was able to reduce overall rates increases from 3.5% to 2%. A final decision on the rates will be adopted by the council's governing body on June 29.